Hey YouTube, I'm here today with my Green Kid deck profile. So to start things off, I have a 19 card mono package. You of course play 4 Momos, 4 Nekomamushis, 4 Raizos, 3 Okikus, and 4 Izos for the 2K counter. So just a couple notes on the mono package. Momo is great to find your 2K counters, and of course your 2 resters. Sometimes if I'm playing against Law and I really want to see this Okiku, I'll have him play it in the beginning, early game, to try to look for the Okiku. But for the most part, I don't like using Momo in the beginning just because I don't want to skip over my big drops. If I have the big drop in hand, I wouldn't mind using the Momos early because he does act as a blocker early game. Moving on to the Supernova package, I have 4 Bonnies, 4 Beiges, 4 Killers, and 4 Apus. Apu's just a 2K counter. The Beige and the Killers are cheap blockers. What's great about the Killer is he replaces himself in terms of cards. If you attach a Dawn to him and he blocks after the fact, he'll draw you a card, which is great in this deck because you need cards and advantage to keep your 8-cost kid alive. Bonnie basically searches everything. Early game, I'm not afraid to play her and use her to search for my big costs if I don't have them. But at the same time, Bonnie's also the blocker just as much as Momo is early game. So I'm never afraid to use her, especially against purple when you're trying to be conservative on life. So for my big drops, I start with 3 X-Drakes. X-Drake is great because then he is a body. He's a 6K body that also pops a 4-cost or lower, so that in itself is great tempo. So he would be popping against red Zoros, Robins. In the mirror, he'll pop Okikus or Raizos that are rested. He'll pop Bonnies or other searchers that are rested, hidden behind blockers. The better 5-cost, I think, is the 5-cost Hawkins. Hawkins is just such a good card. He's definition of a monster. When you play him on curve, your opponent doesn't want to attack. If he doesn't have a natural out to him, they're not going to want to rest their cards because Hawkins will just take that card out for free. Hawkins with Okiku is also a great combo. If you ever have them both out at the same time, Okiku will rest something, and then Hawkins will just clear it out for free. Moving on, I play 3 7-drop kids. This card is great in the mirror and against purple. He's a 7K body that also acts as a blocker. So at the end of the turn after you swing with him with 1 Don, he'll restand, so they can't get rid of him. Against any other deck, I think you'd much rather have the 8-cost kid. The 8-cost kid does so much. He's such a big wall, such a big body. He's 8,000, and if you have a couple blockers on board, or even just 1 blocker on board and just a bunch of 2K counters, he'll just be up for enough turns for you to win the game. And especially if you have, let's say, a Hawkins behind him, or you have your Raizos, your Momos, or your Bonnies, you're just netting so much advantage while your opponent's spending their entire turn trying to break through your 8-cost wall. And to round it off, I have 3 Beppos that are just more 2K counters in the deck. You'll notice that I'm not playing any event cards. And it's not to say that these event cards are bad. I just much rather be more efficient with my Dawn and use it to summon out my big cost cards instead of saving Dawn every turn to protect something. So let's say I have the Hawkins on board. The next turn, I would much rather, on curve, play my 7-drop. Or just if I'm going second, I'll play my 8-drop. Just for the tempo. I'd much rather not save these event cards in my hand because they really just sit and do nothing. You'll also notice I'm not playing any Yamatos. She's great if she actually connects. She does double attack and banish. But I've never found a way to actually make her work in the deck. Against purple, she's very threatening because their only out is the 9-cost Kaido. And if she actually connects, then it drops Kaido low enough where you're not going to be scared of the 10-cost. But most of the time, I'd much rather play the Hawkins. Most of the time, I just chuck her for the 1K counter. So I just don't find that she is a good fit for this deck when I'm trying to be very aggressive. And as well, I'm playing the extra 2K counters, so her being a 1K counter isn't going to cut it. So I also don't play 5-cost Law. 5-cost Law is a 5-cost blocker, 6,000. I believe he's a little too defensive for what I want to do for this deck. He's great at cheating out extra blockers, I guess the turn before you play Kid. He's good at cheating out your 3-cost cards while recycling your Bonnies or Momos, or even recycling your 2K Izo or your Neko. But even doing that, getting a 3-cost Okiku out and a Law out, personally just not strong enough tempo. I'd much rather spend that 5-cost on, again, Hawkins. So that's why I don't play Law. I tried him early on and he works, but I think, if anything, I made space to put more 2K counters to protect my kid. I made space to have more of my big body cards for late game. So that's my deck profile. If you guys have any questions or any comments, feel free to leave them below. And thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.